Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the sports webinar. My name's Isha, and I'll be one of your moderators for the webinar today. And we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us. Today, we have CISD students who, in their respective sports programs, are here to talk to you about their experiences, thoughts, and guidance for their sport. And if you're interested in going into one of these sports, would like to learn more about the program, feel free to type any questions that you have during or after the presentation in the chat or in the Q&A. Before we move on to our first speaker, we'd first like to thank the Southlake Foundation for hosting this event. The Southlake Foundation is essentially a nonprofit organization that does charity events and hosts a lot of volunteer opportunities. For example, they've hosted things like the Diwali Fest, Adopt a Street program, and providing lunch for essential workers. And you can find more information at thesouthlakefoundation.org.
Okay. Our first speaker today will be Ria Singh. She's a rising sophomore, and she'll be talking about boys and girls basketball today. She was on A-team basketball in middle school and was on JV, so junior varsity as a freshman in high school. And as much as I'd like to sit here and hype her up, I'll let her talk about basketball. So Ria, take it from here.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Ragvi. So excited to be here with you guys, and we're just going to get into first talking about middle school girls basketball. So there are 3 teams in middle school girls basketball. There's an A team, a B team, and a C team, and each team has about 10 players. Games are after school once a week, and are at 5:30, 6:30, and 7:30, depending on what team you're on. There's 8 games in a season, and there are no preseason or postseason games. Games last about an hour, and you're encouraged to stay and support your teammates and watch all the games. But if you have a lot of homework or are really busy that day, it's totally fine. Just talk it over with your coaches. Practice is Monday through Thursday till 4:30 during the season. During off season, which is before November and after February, there's no practice. A team is the only team that has tournaments in middle school. They have 2 tournaments throughout the season that are on weekends. One is toward the beginning of the season and one's toward the end. Tryouts take place early November, and they last about a week. They can move you up once teams have been made, so don't feel discouraged if you didn't perform as well as you wanted to, because they understand that everyone is really nervous and tryout week is very hectic. One of the main things that I want to emphasize is that middle school is an ideal time to try out multiple sports, because the sports seasons in middle school do not overlap. So that means that if I'm taking volleyball and basketball, they will finish the volleyball season before we get into the basketball season. Also want to stress that the off-season program in middle school is not related to your sport. So suppose I'm taking basketball. After basketball season, I will go to an off-season program that is like strictly conditioning, and we will not be playing basketball there. Also, I just wanted to mention that in middle school, you register for the athletics program where you can try out for all sports, unlike high school where you register for the sport or sports that you want to play. So that's another reason why middle school is more flexible. Thanks. Okay, so now we're going to talk about high school girls basketball. So in high school girls basketball, it's a little bit different, but same sort of structure. There's a freshman team, maybe 1, maybe 2, depending on how many people try out. There's a junior varsity team and there's a varsity team. Basketball is a double block class. High school has an A day and B day schedule, so keep in mind that all sports, including basketball, are double blocked. This means that instead of going to basketball every other day, which is how all your other classes will be, you'll go to basketball every day during 4th and 8th block. Also want to stress that when you take a sport, since it covers 2 blocks, you are only allowed to take 7 classes. Usually kids take 8 classes, but sports counts for 2, so make sure you know that when you're registering for classes. Games are now twice a week, and they're after school at 4:30, 6, and 7:30, depending on what team you're on, and it is now required to stay and watch all the games. Try to do your homework in prep for game days because coaches don't really like when you're doing your homework and you're watching the games. Also, do not be on your phone when games are going on. And in high school, there's now preseason games, so there's fall ball and there's postseason spring leagues. So get excited to play a bunch of games. And practice is now after school on all days till 4:30. So you do not have Fridays off now. And in high school, there are multiple tournaments throughout the season. So instead of just 2 for a team, they're scattered throughout the season. So they'll give you a schedule in the beginning of the year that tells you when all your tournaments and games will be. So just kind of look out for that. And tryouts are the first 2 weeks of school instead of early November. One major difference about high school is that it is much harder to do more than one sport because the seasons do overlap. So as my previous example, like if I was playing volleyball and basketball, I would probably miss some basketball games or some volleyball games just depending on how my coaches want to set that up. And your off-season program in high school is unrelated to the sport that you play. So if I'm playing basketball after the basketball season, I will go to it is related, sorry. Like after the basketball season, I go to an off-season program where I will be playing more basketball. And another thing I want to mention is that you have to go to your out-of-season sport once a week. So that basically means if I'm playing volleyball and basketball during the basketball season, once a week, I'll have to go play volleyball on Wednesdays. So now we're getting into high school boys basketball. It's pretty similar. There's freshman teams, there's a junior varsity team. The main difference is that, and there's a varsity team. The main difference is that practice is before school now and it's during first and fourth block, and games are now twice a week. And there are multiple tournaments throughout the season as there is girls basketball. Tryouts are still the first 2 weeks of school, and it's much harder to do more than one sport for the same reasons it is girls basketball. So the tryout process for girls, coaches are looking for your ball handling, your shooting skills, your athletic ability, your defense. Defense wins championships. You want to have good free throws and layups. It's so important that you have good free throws and layups because they always count down how many you make out of 10 and they write it down. And so try to get around a 50% shooting accuracy for your free throws and around 80 or 90% for your layups. It is also important to have leadership initiative and good communication skills. Coaches are looking for players that are vocal and loud on the court. So yelling things like ball, 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 and switch, switch, switch is really, really good. Also, you're trying to be a good leader, and that means setting good examples for your teammates. So make sure you are hustling. Coaches love to see you hustle during the games and drills and scrimmages, and always play game speed, as well as have a positive attitude and a loud voice. So I just want to take a second to introduce the coaches. So Coach McCourt is the varsity coach, Coach Lay is the assistant varsity coach, Coach Barbosa is the junior varsity coach, and Coach Pittman is the freshman coach. It's so important that you establish good relationships with your coaches and try to get to know them as well as you can, and for them to get to know you. Tryout week is very hectic, so if the coaches already know you and have a sense of your skills, it makes your chances of making the team way higher. So the tryout process for boys is pretty similar. They're looking for your conditioning skills, your skill work, your basketball skills. Get ready to scrimmage because they're live 5v5s. They're looking for your ball handling, your shooting, your athleticism, hustle, court vision, leadership qualities, and your general knowledge of the game. Out of school practice for girls. So club team experience is very important. In high school, they ask you about club teams or out of school training that you do. So it's important to get involved in outside of school basketball programs, especially during the off season to stay in shape. I have a lot of friends who play basketball at Drive Nation, which is a really great club team. Also definitely research AAU basketball. They have some really great club teams, as well as a lot of varsity people at the high school are on their club teams like Higher Goals. So it's not only great basketball, but it gives you the opportunity to make connections with varsity people and kind of learn from them. Triple Threat is also another great alternative if you're looking to play club. Clinics, camps, and training. School-provided camps, please go to the basketball camps and clinics that they offer in the summer. The camps are usually a couple hours a day for a couple of days during June and July. I went as an incoming freshman, and we had stations and rotated to different drills during different drills with different coaches around every 20 minutes. It's a great opportunity to show off your skills because they have shooting, dribbling, and defense competitions. And they give you a snack break in the middle of the day, and there's free t-shirts. So go for the free t-shirt if nothing else. I really like it. It's a good t-shirt. I also want to stress that this is not a type of training and that camps only last a couple days. So you should not be trying to train here. This is your opportunity to get to know the coaches and show them your skills. But if you want to train, I personally go to a training facility called Next Level. It's in Keller, and they have amazing coaches with different personalized classes that you can take. And Next Level specifically focuses on ball handling, and they make that a priority. So if you struggle with ball handling, I really, really recommend trying out a class or two to see if you like it and just testing out the environment. Also, college basketball camps are wonderful. I've had a bunch of friends go to the basketball camps in the summer. It's a great opportunity to work with really talented coaches and have good competition. I know that TCU has a really good college basketball camp, and also UTD, I think. If you're looking to get into that, make sure you do research and try to apply and register for those ahead of time, because spots do run out and it is very competitive to get a spot. Performance course is also a wonderful resource. I have a lot of friends who go to performance course. It's like a conditioning program that a lot of Carroll students use. The coaches love to see that you did PC over the summer because it shows that you made an effort to stay in shape. It strengthens your agility and muscles, and it's overall very beneficial. Outside of school, basketball for boys is fairly similar. Some things you can do outside of school to prepare is to play in a club team, which obviously helps players get a feel for the game, as I mentioned before, at a competitive level. Improving your athleticism is something that really impresses the coaches, because Carroll has a ton of skilled players, but they lack athleticism at a district level. So performance course is really great. Regardless of what you do to prepare, if it does not visibly translate to how you perform during tryouts, it ultimately does not matter, but do your best and try to have fun. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you learned something, and I hope you had a good time.
Thank you, Ria, for that amazing presentation. Up next is Anushka Bedere, who's going to be talking about volleyball. She's currently a rising sophomore and has played volleyball for 5 years. She's been on club teams while doing both middle school and high school volleyball, so she knows what she's talking about. Take it away, Anushka.
Okay, for middle school volleyball, there's 3 teams, and middle school volleyball is a lot like middle school basketball. There's A, B, and C teams. Their games are once a week from either 4:30, 5:30, 5:30, 6:30, or 7:30. And the time of your game changes depending on which team you make. For 7th grade, practice is every day after school till 4:30, except on Fridays and game days. And for 8th grade, practice starts at 7 every day except for Friday. And there are 2 tournaments only for A team. B team and C team don't have any tournaments. The first tournament is in the middle of the season, and the second tournament is at the end of the season. And off season isn't specific to volleyball. It's just general conditioning, as Ria mentioned before. And it's also a lot easier to play 2 sports because, for example, if you play volleyball and basketball, and also if you play club volleyball, the basketball coaches will excuse you for after school practice if you have to go practice for club volleyball, because they know that that's also a big commitment that you're making. So for high school, there's 4 teams. There's freshman A, freshman B, junior varsity, and varsity. Their games are twice a week, and they're usually on Tuesday and Friday, but sometimes they change the game days. The practice is during 4th and 8th block, and you have tournaments every Saturday until districts start. The tryouts are the beginning of August, and this year they're from August 3rd to August 5th. And the practice for the season starts right after tryouts, so you can get ready as soon as possible because part of your season is going to be in the summer. So for middle school, the tryout process is a week long, and you receive a letter at the end of tryouts to know if you made a team or not. And then later on, they'll clarify which team you made. For 7th grade, tryouts are in the afternoon after school, and for 8th grade, they're before school. And the tryouts in high school are 3 days for 3 hours each day. The first day has a run test, and this test changes every year, so the coaches will tell you what the test is. And coaches individually pull you aside after tryouts are over to tell you which team you made. During tryouts, coaches look for good technique and ball control, and coachability is a really big skill that you need. For example, if a coach tells you something that you need to improve on, you need to immediately try to improve. Even if another coach tells you something different, you have to try to do what the school coach tells you so that they know that you'll be flexible and that you don't only play a certain way. And also you need effort and confidence, communication, and encouraging your teammates. And they also look for how you respond to errors and, most importantly, leadership. Make sure you never walk during drills or huddles. Be the first one on the court to have more opportunities, and pick a partner who's at the same skill level so that you will be showing all of your skills and you won't have to play to their level. For volleyball outside of school, you should start playing club volleyball as soon as possible because coaches look for this to make sure that you're really committed and you want to be playing all year round. And make sure you go to lots of clinics for the clubs you want to try out for so that the coaches are very familiar with you, because most of the clubs decide their top teams even before tryouts start. Some examples of clubs are Drive Nation, Tejas, Texas Image, and TAB, and there are many other clubs around our area. You should also go to clinics, camps, and private lessons if possible. And you can look on clubs' websites for their specific clinics, camps, and tryout info. Clinics are for your position, while camps are for more general skills like ball control. And private lessons are also great because you get one-on-one time with the coach that you wouldn't get during clinics or camps. And as Rio was saying, you should also join performance course, especially over the summer, to get in shape. And I did performance course over the summer, and it helped a lot with the high school run test. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Anushka, for that presentation. So next up, we have Advai Kasarla. He is a rising sophomore and has played tennis for 3 years. He's currently on JV White in high school, so he has a good amount of experience. So Advai, we'll let you take it.
Thank you. So for middle school tennis, it's not a part of the school actually. So there's no in-school classes, and it's no cut tryouts. There's no tournaments that the school itself takes part of, but of course you can go to out-of-school tournaments. It's also not a part of the middle school athletics programs, such as basketball or football or volleyball. So I would recommend that it's actually done tandem with other sports, such as like soccer or swimming. So moving on to high school tennis, there are 3 teams: JV White, which I am on, JV Green, and Varsity. They are, last year, JV White was not cut, but this year all of the 3 levels are cut. And for tournaments wise, they're once a month. In school practice, there is 1 block for JV White. You can either pick 3rd block, A day, or 7th block, B day. And Varsity has 2 blocks also. Well, it has 2 blocks, 1st and 4th, while JV Green has 2nd and 6th. So for challenge matches during the school year, they're going to be at the beginning of every month. And at the beginning of the school year, the coaches put you in at a certain rank in the team. And these challenge matches are for you to move up or down in the rankings and try to get a better score. So for trial requirements, JV White was no cut last year, but for this year it is cut, and all of the tryouts are usually during the summer. So for USTA, there's a score, and if you have a score lower than 4, you're usually going to be put into JV White unless you've talked to the coach and the coach has actually seen you perform. Then you could be able to get a JV Green trial. So for JV Green, if you have a score higher than 4, a USTA score higher than 4, and or you're a champ, you will be put into a JV Green trial. Or if you stood out in the initial tryouts, he will probably put you in a JV Green trial. That's what happened to me. I was picked with 7 other people and I got a JV Green trial. So, and then for varsity, only a few freshmen a year get varsity tryouts. It's usually 2 or 3. And basically it's cut, of course. And then if you're super champ or above, you can get this tryout. So yeah. So for extracurricular tennis, there's plenty of spots, but in Southlake specifically, there's this place at the senior high called SL Tennis where you can go, and it's usually focused around match play, and it's not meant for you to like improve on your strokes. On the other hand, if you go to the Southlake Tennis Center in Bicentennial Park, it's a lot more strokes based, and it helps you perfect your strokes. While group tennis is helpful for match play, you don't really learn much. So I also recommend you do private lessons, which is mostly for perfecting your strokes, and just play a lot of tournaments. It'll help you with your match play and it'll help you in tryouts.
Thank you, Advai. Now we have Rian Orion, who's going to be presenting the soccer information. She is currently a rising junior and has played soccer since the age of 4. So she's dedicated a lot of time to the sport. She also plays on club select teams while also playing for the school team as well.
Hi. So basically, I'm gonna start off by saying like what I did. So first, I did recreational from age 4, as you said, and then I did club academy, club select, middle school soccer, and high school soccer, and then this thing called global football training, which I'll explain later. Okay, so for recreational soccer, some really good places are Keller Soccer Association, Colleyville Soccer Association, and Grapevine Soccer Association. So for this, it's basically just like a fundamental thing that you need to do, mostly when you're younger, and it's like a great foundation for playing competitive soccer, as it's really non-competitive. So if you want to like get into it, you know. Okay, so Club Academy is slightly more competitive than Rec. Um, you do this along with Rec, so it's like a 50-50, it's like a balance because it's like non-competitive and then competitive, you know? And it gets you ready for Club Select, which is way more competitive, and I'll talk about later. So this is mostly for ages like 6 through 11, and this is and most clubs offer this program. So if you're like interested in like solar or like Sting, you can like they offer Academy, which is it's the next level above Rec, and it's one below Select. Okay, Club Select. It's way more competitive, time consuming, and of course it lays a great foundation for school soccer. So what I mean by that is that it's very like there's practice twice a week, and there's games on the weekends, and practices are like an hour and a half, and and it's very time consuming. So you have to like keep your like priorities right. You have to like do your homework in the car, and you have to just like keep track of your time so you don't lose it. And it's very competitive, meaning that like most people from our school who are in the soccer program do club. So like you have to like, so everyone's like getting that extra supplement. So you need to like also just be mindful of that. And so on the right, these are like the leagues that most select teams are in. and it's just kind of in the order of like least competitive to most competitive. But if you look into them, you can find the best one for you, like such as if you wanted to go traveling, you could go to NPL. If you wanted to go like really competitive, then you can go to ECNL. But if you want something laid back, you can go to Plano Association. Okay, so major teams include like FC Dallas, Solar Sting, like Dallas Texans, Liverpool, and so on. And what I wanted to say is how like a lot of people ask how you get in, like how you like sign up for these. So basically you can go to like gotsoccer.com, or you can simply just search up their club name, and then there's like you can go to their website, and then they have all their information on there, like where they practice, their like phone number, the coaches' phone numbers and stuff like that. So you can just look at gotsoccer.com. Or if you're already on a team, you can just ask your coach and he'll tell you plenty of stuff. Okay, and note that these teams practice in the Metroplex, which is pretty much far away. So it's going to be like an hour and a half drive, like mostly in Plano with all the traffic. And the practices are like at 6:30, usually to like 8. So you need to keep track of time and make sure you don't get into traffic. Otherwise, you're going to be there for a while. And as I said, practices are 2 times a week and games are on the weekends. And seasonal tournaments, depending on the league, meaning that like just like common sense, if you were in the more like competitive league such as ECNL or ECRL, you would have more tournaments than like Plano. Also, in the beginning, I mentioned global football training, which is kind of like a supplement to club soccer. It's run by this really nice guy. He actually was a pro. His name's Jeremy. So he helps you. He has private training. He has group training. He's very qualified. He played for MLS, which is really cool. So yeah. Okay, middle school soccer. So a good thing about this is that it's run by the same high school coaches, Coach Colvin, Coach Lee, and Coach CJ, they call her CJ. And so basically it's one team combined. So it's 7th and 8th grade combined. And there's no ABC teams. So there's only one team. And these are mostly against other middle schools, and there's around 8 games in the spring. So it's not it's not part of the athletic program, so it's only after school. So most of these sports are in the athletic program, so it's part of the school day, but this is not. So you have to like stay after school, and yeah, and these are only in the spring. So you like you basically can play other sports up until like March, and then you play soccer. Yeah. Okay, high school soccer. So there's 2 teams. This year there was 3, but it's mostly going to be 2. There's JV and varsity. Players have to keep on trying out each season. And as part of the tryout, you basically have to do this thing called a 40-40, which is 40 yards 40 times under a certain amount of minutes. And that makes you eligible for trying out. So you have to keep your running in just to even try out. So that's a major part of high school soccer. Because it's the only school that makes you do this. So that just shows like how competitive it is, and so you have to like know what you're like looking into, and so depending on the team, there's about 20 to 30 games. That's a lot of games, and if you do like club, that's just like insane, so you have to like keep track of your time. So like varsity goes to like Georgetown, and they go to like their state final, which changes every year for a tournament, so it's a lot of tournaments. And again, this is blocks 4 and 8. So, and it's also, you have to stay a bit after school to like 4:30. And a lot of the upperclassmen will offer you a ride home if you don't have a ride home. So don't need to worry about that if you can't stay after school. Practices are every day after school. Oh, and this is very important. Coaches expect you to play club soccer. Like it's like they like want you to play club soccer like simultaneously, because in club soccer they like teach you the fundamentals, and in here they like in clubs high school soccer they like pretty much just scrimmage all the time. Oh, and also this season only starts in January. So pretty much from August to like November to like December, you're just pretty much scrimmaging and just off season. So you're just getting ready for the season. So you can't, I mean, some people in like other sports often don't come for off season. They only come for the season. But if you're in soccer the whole time, you just pretty much scrimmage and stuff during the off season. Some skills they're looking for is endurance because of the 40-40s, like you need to like, and then speed, obviously, skill and strength. And this is probably the most important thing is the ability to manage soccer and education. Like as I said before, it's super time consuming. So you have to know what you're getting into because sometimes you only get back from school games at like 10:30 and you haven't even started your homework yet. So you have to like keep track of that. And same with club, you get back at like 9:30. So you just never know with these things. They like to keep you back all the time at practice. But yeah, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay, thank you, Ria. So next up, we have Anthony Thomas, who will be presenting about cross country for both boys and girls. Anthony is a rising sophomore, and he has been doing cross country ever since the program started in 7th grade. And he still continues to do it in CHS, and he's been running since the 4th grade. So he has a lot of experience. Anthony, you can start.
So in middle school boys cross country, there's two teams, A team and B team. A team is usually about 7 people and B team is everyone else. It's not a cut sport. So even if you're extremely slow and you know it, you'll still make the team. You'll have meets once a week. And during the meets, the 7th grade boys run 1.5 miles, while 8th grade boys run 2 miles. Practice for cross country is during the school period. So if you want to do cross country, make sure you sign up for athletics in middle school. That way you'll be able to join it. There are 5 meets in a middle school season, and the season starts in late October. There aren't really tryouts in middle school. They just see they'll do like a time trial during practice, and whoever is the fastest for that week will make a team for that week. And they re-evaluate every single week. Middle school girls cross country is pretty similar. There's A team and B team. They have the same meets as the boys. 7th graders run 1.5 miles, while 8th graders run 2 miles. Practice is also during the school period, so girls also make sure you sign up for athletics. That way you'll be able to run cross country if you want to. There's also 5 meets in a season, and the season starts at the same time as the boys. Okay, so in high school boys cross country, it is very different from middle school. So there's varsity, which is the top 7 runners, and junior varsity. They decide top 7 before the season starts in August. They'll do a time trial, and whoever's the top 7 runners will make varsity. You are probably not going to make varsity as a freshman, so don't feel bad if you know you're fast and you don't. And again, don't feel bad if you know you're slow, because cross country is not a cut sport. They welcome anyone, whether they're really fast or really slow. So just make sure you put in effort and they'll keep you on the team. Practice for the boys is before and during 1st and 5th block. So you will have to wake up early to go to practice at 6:40. So make sure when you get home from school, you do your homework and you get to sleep early. That way you'll get a good 8 hours of sleep and you can wake up and go to practice. meets for high school are on Saturdays, except for the district meet, which is on a Thursday. Meets will make you have to wake up even earlier than for practice. So make sure you get a lot of sleep. And after the season, you can sign up for Nike Regionals, which is basically an extra meet, which is a travel meet that anyone can sign up for no matter their speed. And they take you down to Houston and you run a 5K there. Again, every meet in high school, boys and girls, is a 5K. Official practice for boys cross country starts 2 weeks before school starts. And the major difference between middle school and high school is that high school cross country requires running every single day of the year, even if you're on vacation, if it's a holiday like Christmas, every day you have to run. Okay, continued. High school boys cross country for summer practice, it is Monday through Saturday every week in the summer at 7 a.m. So if you are an incoming freshman, you just finished 8th grade, I highly encourage you to go to summer practice because the coaches will think higher of you and they'll know that you're dedicated to the sport because you want to go there early before the official season starts. Monday and Friday practice is at Pleasant Run Park in Colleyville, and all the other days are at Bob Jones Park. Like I said earlier, the coaches do not care how fast you are, they only care how hard you work. So even if you know you have a slow mile time, they do not care, they just want you to work hard. Mileage weeks for the boys are 10 miles for each mileage week. So what that means is your first week of running, you'll be running 10 miles a week. And then eventually you ask the coaches if you can move up, and if they say yes or no. If they say yes, you'll move up. And so your next mileage week will be running 20 miles a week. And then when you move up again, you'll be running 30 miles a week. Your main coaches will be Coach Leonard and Coach Gilly. So they will be with you during practice, during the season, and during the off season. Whereas the assistant coaches, Coach Starkey, Coach O'Neill, and Coach Sellers will really only be there to help you with the meets and help shuttle you from the senior high to the location of the meet. Some extra information. Saturday practice, when there isn't a meet, is at 7 a.m. unless at Bob Jones, unless they say somewhere else or at a different time. The district meet is on a Thursday, and you will have to miss school for that, but you will be exempted because you're doing it for a sport. So make sure whenever you have to leave school for cross country, whether it's for a meet or you have to leave early to travel somewhere, make sure you tell your teachers ahead of time. That way they know to give you the extra homework so you won't have to come back after and you won't get any late grades. All cross country runners participate in track in the spring, and track meets are usually after school, so you'll have to leave school early for that too. And unlike cross country season, track meets are optional, whereas cross country meets are mandatory. And track meets are usually a 1600, which is a mile, or a 3200, which is 2 miles, while all cross country meets will be 5,000 meters or a 5K. High school girls cross country. There's varsity and JV, like the boys. Varsity is top 7 runners. You probably won't make the top 7 as a freshman, unless you won't make it as a freshman, but you may make the top 14 if you're extremely fast. But like I said earlier, if you know you're slow, whether you're fast or you're slow, just make sure you put in 100% effort and you're doing your runs and you do what you're supposed to do. Practice for the girls is during 4th and 8th block. After you finish all your classes, you'll go on a bus and then they'll take you and you'll go for your run. Meets are on Saturdays with the boys, except for the district meet, which is on a Thursday. After the season, you can also sign up for Nike Regionals. And official practice starts 2 weeks before school. And the big difference between middle school and high school is high school, you have to run every single day. Like I said earlier, even if you're on vacation, we have a saying, motivated people find a way. You can always get your run in. So make sure you're motivated about that and the coaches will think high of you. Some more info. Summer practice is Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Monday and Friday practice is at Pleasant Run, and all the other days are at Bob Jones Park. Like I said earlier, coaches don't care how fast you are, they only care how hard you work. So make sure you're putting in effort, and if you're going into high school and you're a current 8th grader going into freshman year, it shows a lot that you go to the summer practice. So make sure you go there. It's going to help you in the season because you already know how much you're supposed to be running. And it basically just gives you a head start to the other people who start when official practice starts. The difference between boys and girls is boys' mileage weeks are by 10 miles each week and girls are by 7 miles. So when you first start running, you'll be running 7 miles a week. Then when you move up, you'll be going to 14 miles a week, then 21, then 28. Another difference is that the main coaches for girls are Coach Leonard, Coach Gilly, and Coach Starkey. They will be with you during practice, during the block, and they'll help you during practice. Your assistant coaches will be Coach O'Neill and Coach Sellers. They'll really only be there during the meets and to help shuttle you from the senior high and to the location of the meet. Some more information. Saturday practice is at 7 a.m. unless there is a meet or they tell you it's somewhere else or at a different time, and it will mostly be at Bob Jones unless they tell you otherwise. The district meet is on a Thursday, and you have to miss school for that. So again, make sure that you tell your teachers when you know you're missing school to give you your work. That way you won't get a late grade. And you'll be exempted for that because you're leaving because of a sport. All runners run in track in the spring. And like I said earlier, track meets are optional, whereas cross-country meets are mandatory. So if you're going to know you can't make it to a track meet, make sure you tell the coaches ahead of time before they sign you up for it, which is usually like 2 weeks before. So make sure you tell them that you're not going to be there.
Hi. So now we have a couple questions for the presenters. So I guess I can just start by asking. First from Seren, who wants to know, Anushka, I guess you can answer this. What kind of training do people do in PC?
So in PC, it's mostly strength and agility because it's not specific to any sport. It's just a general strength and agility program, and it can also help you get your vertical up.
I know a lot of other people have also done PC, so if you have any other input, you can do that. But if no one else has anything to say,
Wait, Reed, do you have something to say about
Oh
PC?
yeah, I was just gonna say that our PC for soccer, it was after school for a short period of time. It was from October to December, just after school, after practice. So you would stay till 5:30. It was just for a couple weeks. It was just strike weights and running and stuff like that.
Another thing to note about PC is that it's for both boys and girls. They don't practice together. Usually the boys' practice is before the girls. And you can start doing PC as young as 6th grade. So you don't have to be in middle school and you don't have to do a sport in order to sign up and do PC. So if you just want to stay in shape in general or get more agile, or if you're in 6th grade and you just want to improve your skills before you start trying out for middle school sports, then that's a great way to start. You'll be doing a lot of weight training, so it's good to build up some muscle, and then you'll be doing a lot of different types of drills that's going to be working on stuff like your posture, your foot technique, all of that kind of stuff, which is a general way to help with staying in shape for sports. Okay.
I also want to add that there's PC during spring and there's also during summer. So one during spring is before school, and for in high school, they might have for your sport, they might have a PC just so you guys can all condition together just for your sport, but mostly it's everyone in general.
Okay. Next question is for Agvai. The question is, if you have scrimmages with other schools and how often, like aside from actual tournaments, or like how weekly practices work for y'all in tennis.
So for weekly practices in middle school, it's once a week over the weekends, and then for high school, there's no after school practice, but it's in school. And then for scrimmage, uh, JV White does not participate in scrimmages with other schools, but varsity and JV Green do. And it's pretty much like once a week. So yeah.
Okay. Our next question is for Anthony. This person asked how much a person would run during a high school meet. So like how long they would run.
So depending on your mileage week, if you're a freshman girl or freshman boy, you'll be running less for your warm up and cool down. But if you're a sophomore or higher ranking class, then you'll be running more for the warm up and cool down. So last year I was on the 30-mile week. So I was running a 2-mile warm up and a 1-mile cool down. Whereas now I'm on the 60-mile week. So I'll be running the same distance for the warm up, but I'll be running a much longer cool down this season. Also, the actual race for both genders and all classes, it's a 5K, whereas in middle school, it's 1.5 for 7th grade and 2 miles for 8th grade.
Okay, thank you. So Ria, our next question is for you. Somebody asked how you would try out for the soccer team.
Okay, so basically, like as I said, the 40/40s are those are the first day of school, like right as soon as you like, even though the season's like not until January, um, the 40/40s are like partly the first day of school. And so basically you just sign up for soccer, you go there, and then you do the 40/40s, and then they usually spend the first week just like getting through everyone, because you can do them again, like if you don't make the time, you can like do it like for like 2 weeks, and if you like don't get the time then like you just like, I mean most people get the time by then, but if not you're cut. But yeah, and then from then you just like do like little like tryouts till like by like January you're gonna know what team you're on. And they just do like little drills and like scrimmages, mostly scrimmages.
Okay, and then another thing to add to that is in high school, the way you would be eligible to like try out is that when you're picking your courses, you put soccer down as the course that you want to do. So that way, on the first day of school, when you go to the soccer course or the football training place, then you try out for those first 2 weeks. And if you make the team, you stay in the soccer course. If you don't make the team, then you'll go to your counselor and you'll switch out of the soccer course into something else. And uh, for middle school, I believe that like soccer was not a part of the athletics program, so you just like try out after school.
Correct.
Okay.
Next question is for Anushka. So which club did you do, and can you elaborate on your experiences in that club? Like the
Done multiple clubs. Like I think 3 years ago, I did a private club, and then 2 years ago, I was at Drive Nation, and this year I'm going to Tejas. And so we have practices twice a week, and usually the older age groups practice later. So we had our practices from 7:30 to 9, and we had conditioning once a week. So you have to stay for an extra 30 minutes after. And some clubs have more than 2 practices a week, but it just depends on what level of competitiveness you're at. And usually each club has 3 teams per age group. So last year I was on 15-2, which is the second team for our age group. And each age group has usually 3 teams, and sometimes they don't have enough players, so they only have 2. And our tournaments are not every weekend, but we usually have 9 to 12 tournaments per season, depending on how competitive you are. There are also travel tournaments. For example, there's one at Colorado, there's one in Kansas. And this year with COVID and everything, they're thinking of sticking to going to tournaments that are closer that we can drive to.
Okay, so we did get a question about football. We don't have somebody here who is in football to answer like specific questions, but as a general overview about the season, I assume that you guys start trying out in summer, and like same thing as volleyball, since they both have the same season time, you would try out in summer. I believe that it is a non-cut sport, and the season starts from like the first day of school until about the end of October, and then it's playoffs for varsity. That's as much as I can tell, but I don't have any specific things for football. Another thing I do want to add, since there have been people interested, is that there is a specific PC course over the summer, so specific performance course for football over the summer that a lot of people do. So if you're interested in playing football in high school, I highly recommend taking the PC course for football. Okay, and also I wanted to explain something that some people were getting confused about, the difference in how you sign up for sports in middle school versus high school. In middle school, if you were to want to try out for a sport, during 6th grade, when you're filling out your course selections, one of your electives will be the athletic program as a whole. And when you're in the athletic program, you have accessibility to every single sport. So you can try out for every single sport that the middle school provides. But in order to do that, you must be in the athletic program. Now for high school, if you were to try out for multiple sports, which is hard, but it is possible, pick your top sport. So for example, Anushka did both volleyball and basketball in high school. So she picked volleyball as the course to do for high school, but she also tried out for basketball at the same time. So you just put your top sport and then you try out for both because they're at the same time. It doesn't work the same.
I also wanted to add that they tell you to put the sport that season comes first.
Yeah.
And then you try out for like the sports to come later.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have one more question for Ria Singh about basketball.
What's up?
Okay, yeah. How do tournaments work? So like, how do you get there, or is it over the weekend, or is it during school? So how does that work? And then also, can you talk a little bit more about shooting accuracy?
Okay, so tournaments basically work, you'll take a bus, probably with the boys basketball as well, because you guys go to the same stuff. You'll take a bus to the tournament, or the tournament could be at home. I think we had one at-home tournament, and you'll just play a couple of games. I think you're required, like you automatically have about 2 games each tournament. And if you win those games, then you go on to play more games. It's on the weekends. It's usually Friday and Saturday. And we had one tournament where if you win more, then you go on to play Sunday. So that's kind of how the tournament process works. There's a couple tournaments scattered throughout the season, less in middle school. That's pretty much it. And then, what was your second question?
It was about shooting accuracy. So like, explain like the free throws and stuff.
Okay, so free throws. I remember in middle school we had a coach. She made it a point where you had to pass your free throws. 50% is a good place to be at, but if you really want to excel at free throws, then try to get to 70% because coaches are looking for you to pass your free throws, if that kind of makes sense.
The free throws is like really important because it's just basically a lot of defense that goes into that. Okay, so that is all the questions that we have gotten. So we want to thank all of our esteemed speakers here for being here today and taking the time to share your experiences and everything you've got with everybody. We also appreciate everybody for attending the webinar, and we all hope you learned something from today. If you have more questions, then you can contact us. And other than that, that's it. So thank you all and have a good day.